Okay, guys, so we are live, and if you can give me a moment as we can get this set up finally on Facebook, we can do that right now. Okay, guys, so we are live, and if you can give me a moment. All right, there's that. Okay, perfect. Just give me one moment, okay? And we are about to set this now. Okay, I believe we are live. How's everybody going this evening? My name is Jay Sanzo, and please allow about 1 or 2 minutes before I start about the conversation here. Okay. Let's see if I can copy this. I cannot share. Copy link. Okay, so thanks for everybody for tuning in this evening. This is going to be the third episode of TEK Bytes. What we're going to be talking about in this featured live video is the refurbishing side of the business. Now, if you don't know what the refurbishing is in the cell phone world, basically what we do here, so I'm going to show you right now, is in my hand I have an iPhone 11. Okay, and if you can see closely here on the glare of the light, it is cracked, right? And what we do, we remove the display and we put a fresh new glass into it. This is a packaged glass. This glass typically costs about $5 per sheet of glass. Sometimes even cheaper. Sometimes you're even getting a good quality glass for $2.50. And that's an amazing return when you're removing the glass only. Now, people often confuse, what are you talking about, the glass only? Well, this is a display to a Nintendo Switch OLED. And this OLED display is cracked and broken, so it's no good, but I'm going to use this for example's sake. This right here is the glass. Okay? Typically, the display is intact, but when you remove the glass and replace it to a new sheet of glass, which is a good one, then that's where you made your money. Now, for example, this is a Nintendo Switch glass, and let me grab one moment here. Here we have a Nintendo Switch, right? So the glass off of this one, typically, for example's sake, would have been removed from this to salvage the display, right? And this is what the glass would look like. Let me make myself a little bit bigger so you guys can get a bigger grasp on what I'm saying. So if you can see here, I had cut the line with the wire. I had cut the display with the wire. As you can see, the strikes, and you can see where the glass was shattered. The point of shatter was right here. It can even bend where the glass is cracked, right? So when doing a repair like this, it takes an awful amount of skill to do something like this. And a lot of people took refurbishing to the next level in order to make this happen. Why? Well, I'll show you why. I'll show you why in about one moment. I'm gonna get myself out of this sheet, and we're gonna go to a company called Phone LCD Parts, okay? Our buddies over here in Phone LCD Parts, what's great about them, they're very transparent about their costs. So if you sign up with them, you have the advantage of getting parts right away at your door at your business. If you're running a business, either a big time or small time, this is an amazing place to source your parts. And as you can see here, the display, when essentially we're refurbishing the display, and the display that you're refurbishing is the original display you're taking from the phone. Hence the phone that I have here in my hand, which is an iPhone 11. But if it was an iPhone 16 Pro Max, that would cost you, just the display itself, $380. That's a lot of dough. And if you just buy the glass, you're saving yourself the $380 in the refurbished part, because they're selling you an intact part, which is original from Apple. And I have to scroll very, very much down to find the glass right here. But I'll eventually get there. I will eventually get there. Maybe not. Where are you, glass? Here you go. So you can see here the glass, a pack of 5 is $8. $8 for a pack of 5. You divide a pack of 5, what's that? I'm looking at my math here. Bear with me. $8 divided by 5, that's $1.60. Like I said, $2.50 isn't bad. Well, a pack of 5 will get you 5 pieces of glass at $1.60. That's not counting the cost of shipping and handling and your tax. So I would say a good even $2 if you want to round it out. If you want to add in the shipping costs and the tax that's going to cost you to purchasing that item. Okay. Excuse me. In any case, refurbishing, at a hindsight, it does make sense. So what if you were to refurbish a $380 display? And that would mean that you're saving the customer the upfront labor cost on top of the part. Because typically, if I'm going to charge what it shows here, $380, if I'm going to charge that, that's going to be a lot of money for the customer. Let me scroll up a little bit more so you can see that. Okay. In any case, $380. So typically, what a business will do Sorry about the background noise. Typically, what a business will do is they'll purchase the part for $380, and then from there they'll do their labor cost. Their labor cost sometimes typically is $100 on top of that. So when you go to a repair store and I want an OEM part from Apple, they're going to charge you $480 plus tax. It's just the way it's going to be. You know? $480. Is the normal customer going to be prepared to pay that? It gets a little bit hard. It gets very difficult for the normal customer to pay that. Now, I don't have one for example, but behind every display there's a control board of the display, like a little microchip board, right? And these microchips, this is not an Apple display by no means, but behind every display there's these control. It's like a small little board behind it. These small little boards are married to the phone, and if you're savvy enough to replace these parts to another display, you save yourself the hassle of it saying a non-genuine display on the phone screen. A lot of people get away with that with workarounds, and because sometimes refurbishing can go bad. Refurbishing can cost you in damaging the display, and if that happens, you are now forced to cycle that chip into another display. And it has happened. Believe me, it has happened. Thankfully, not a lot of people, a lot of customers don't mind that. All they care about at the end of the day, a customer, is that they're getting a good deal and they are getting an amazing display out of it, a genuine display. So, in other words, a high quality display. And Apple makes it very hard for the regular people to understand that their display is genuine, because on their image, even if it's a genuine display, on the image it's going to say this is a non-genuine part, even though it's a genuine part. Heck, you can even grab a display from an original phone, source it for an original phone and use it to fix their phone. You know, source original parts to fix their phone, and it'll still show that message. The workaround is you have to get a service pack, an OEM service pack directly from them. And that's where the right of repair comes in. And, you know, I don't want to get too deep into that. I just want to talk about the economics of refurbishing and why refurbishing is important for your business, or at least was, because in truth, refurbishing hasn't been very popular in the close recent past. It was wildly popular back in 10 years ago, 6 years ago even. And the reason, I don't know, I don't find, well, I can find several reasons why it slowed down or became unpopularized. First off, difficulty. The challenge of refurbishing a glass-only display on a $300 AMOLED OEM display is very costly when you damage one. You essentially lose your gains, especially when you're buying cracked glass good displays. And if you're buying cracked glass good displays, you're essentially taking on the risk. So every time you do these, say you get 10 of these, and you fail even two, that already messed up your whole entire operation. That's unless you're not selling to other third parties and all that stuff. If you're refurbishing for another company, then that's really bad. That those type of losses is going to hurt. But if you're refurbishing for your customers, that is not going to hurt too bad. You can, I'd say a 30% breakage rate is okay-ish. It's not great, but 30% is okay if you're refurbishing for your customers.
If you want to rebuild this world,
Now, excuse me if I'm... Now, if you're refurbishing for a third party, a 30% failure rate, not gonna happen. It's just you're gonna lose money, even at 20%. That means you have to be 80% successful, and even at 20%, that's really hard to do. That's where you see little margin, and you barely make a profit at a 20% loss of breakage. Now, the optimal percentage would be 10% breakage rate. There's always going to be breakage rate, and you have to, not only that, you have to make sure your quality control is good. So say, for example, you got the new glass, you put the display together, now you have an amazing product, right? For example. And let me so once you have an amazing product, what will happen is the third party will use the product, they'll start using it, they'll install it for the customer, and what will happen is, for some reason, between you giving them the part and the third party installing it to the customer, the part is defective. So now you have to add in those costs. So that's one reason why refurbishing became unpopularized, because of that. And especially, again, it's $380 for an iPhone 16 Pro Max. That's a big hit. That's a huge hit, especially for third party. Not gonna happen. I tried it. It's painful. It hurts. It hurts when you're losing credibility with your third party. The third party is saying that you are not a good refurbisher. They'll come up with even at a 5%. So you can imagine the what do you call it? The lashback when you have even 5% error. Oh, they hate it. They'll really whip at you. And in any case, refurbishing for somebody else as a third party, that is not the way to go. I'm going to tell you right now, if you plan to refurbish, even as an amazing screen as the iPhone 16 Pro Max can be, and highly profitable, if you plan to do this for third party, don't do it. That's a death sentence if you do that. And you leave yourself open for scrutiny if you refurbish for a third party. I've tried it. I tried it for even 5 companies. And while I was wildly successful, not everybody is Jace. And I was doing it on my own. I would be very meticulous on every refurbish. And mind you, this was back in between the years of 2018 and 2020. That was 2 years straight before I went to Texas to work at a refurbishing plant with Tony Pham. And that was an incredible experience working with Tony. One of the best times of my life refurbishing and teaching others how to refurbish in his plant. In any case, if I were myself back then, I would have re-optimized my way how I would have refurbished this stuff. So what I learned, the takeaway is that, yeah, refurbishing third party, not the way to do it. In any case, I wanted to experiment on something. So I said to myself, well, if the third party's not the way to do it, if third party's not the... Jace, you're telling me third parties, where is it that refurbishing does matter? Where refurbishing does make a profit, and I can really benefit from refurbishing. Okay, so now let's get down to the nitty gritty, and let's get down why you are here. Okay, so let's, and mind you, this live stream is going to be quite a bit. It's going to be an hour long. So if you're going to be here with me and learn together, let's open up these conversations and explore together. So anyways, this is a store. Let me make myself a little bit smaller so you guys can see better. I partnered up and I opened a store with this partner in Cape Coral, Florida. Okay? This was a franchise store. And I'm not going to say the franchise, I'm not going to be open about it, but what I am going to be open about this store is the numbers. Everything the business had done part in refurbishing. I'm going to show you exactly every detail of that business and what it was doing and how much money it was making through refurbishing. What responsibilities was that refurbishing took in percentages and in gross and net profits even. So let's begin. This store operated for 13 months of total before we let it go, and I left my partnership from that store. And let me get another drink of water because I'm thirsty. As you can see here, this store made a whole year's worth of $482,000. That's a lot of dough. That's nearly $500,000 a little bit over a year, 13 months. That's nearly $500,000 in 13 months. We were kicking ass, if you can say. So, the taxes right here, franchise fees took $31,000. Taxes from, because we were using an application or a program called Repair Desk, and that was using that for the taxes. That was about $26,000, and these were the numbers that we took. So investments in all parts and inventory. That's like the materials cost, because this stuff right here, these parts cost money. These parts cost money. It doesn't come at you free. So because of that, you can see $144,000 went into our cost of goods. So yeah, it's pretty pricey, you know. The marketing fee. See, this franchise was taken. I feel like it was taking advantage of us, and not only that, they made a lot of money from us. This franchise, you know, they were really happy with what we did for that franchise, and these are the numbers that proved it. But it wasn't because of the franchise that we were successful. Their name wasn't making us successful. We were experienced technicians and salesmen of the repair store. I've been doing this since 2011. My cousin says I've been doing this for a little bit longer than that, but I feel like I can confidently say I started back in 2011, back with the iPod days. In any case, we've had experience in running a store, and this was no different. This was a high foot traffic inside of a Walmart, mind you. This was back then when it was good to be in a Walmart, because just because you're in a Walmart doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You gotta choose the right Walmart and the right demographic. Don't think that every Walmart is going to be successful, because it's not. The foot traffic is not going to help you any better. It works, not to say that, but you have to have the right demographic and the right Walmart. Okay? If you have a lot of foot traffic but the wrong demographic, not going to happen. I tried. I've had 3 stores in Walmarts. One was a massive failure. Another one was okay, and this one was the one that was the most successful. This one was so successful, we were the best Walmart of any location. So it's just the reason this place was so good for us is because I'd say 50% of it is due in part because we were lucky. We were lucky because there was a gap in the market. So we tackled that gap. We were in that radius. We were the only one there, and everybody went to that Walmart. That Walmart location was the only Walmart in that city of Cape Coral. It's the only Walmart supercenter, so everybody was forced to go to that Walmart. So we had a lot going for us. So yes, we were very lucky to get that location. Okay, so I put a lot of emphasis on that luck. 50% of it, you know, you could say a fluke. And if it's repeatable, I don't know if it's repeatable. Maybe if I went back at that Walmart and purchased it again, maybe we can work up the numbers. However, things have changed. The repair landscape, these numbers were taken from 2022 and 2023. The tactics that were done in that time is not gonna work. Why? Because trends change quick in the cell phone industry and the mobile markets in general, and tech in general. So everything that worked in that time frame does not work anymore. Let's make that clear. So that's why when you want to refurbish today, you want to know what to refurbish and which is the money-making refurbishing materials. Okay, so let's move forward. If we go down here, I want to show you guys something wild and crazy. So at our Cape Coral location, all the repaired screens that were laminated. So what I mean about that, let me scroll down here as well. If you see right here, all the repair screens on blue, that means everything that's been laminated. So when we relaminate a new glass to the display, that's called lamination. It bonds to the glass bonds to the display, and we call that lamination. So every laminated screen, whether it was a small or big, like a tablet or an iPad, that was the cost. That was the all of them. So we did 313 laminations throughout the year. 43 out of the 313 of those laminations were iPhone 13 Pro Maxes, because at the time of 2022, between 2023, there were no such thing as an aftermarket 120 hertz display. The iPhone 13 did something unique. It did something that, for the first time in Apple, they introduced the first 120 hertz display on their iPhones, which was the iPhone 13 Pro and the Pro Max. And the aftermarket industry went crazy. They're like, oh man, how we are going to implement this technology? Because it was a big deal. 120 hertz was a big deal. And before that, I knew that this was going to be a massive problem. I told my partner, like, look, we're about to hit the iPhone 12s. Typically, when a new phone releases in the market, these aftermarket companies are so advanced at what they do, they can release the aftermarket part literally within weeks, even like a month to 2 months, you know? And when the aftermarket part comes out and it hits the market, you're like, oh man, But something different happened with the iPhone 13 Pro Max. When the 13 Pro Max came out, it had a 120 hertz display. OLED technology was common. However, what was truly changing at that time was 120 hertz display. And I saw an opportunity to take hold of that and grasp it. So that at the time, now they make 120 hertz displays like it's no problem. We're all past that. But at the time, this was huge, and we took advantage of that. So out of that year, we did 43 displays, the whole 13 months that we were there. If you can see over here, oops, sorry, I'm not, wrong screen. So when you refurbish these screens, and let me scroll down, that way you guys can see a little bit better. Should I zoom in so you guys can see? If you guys have a screen, you guys should be able to see, but I'll zoom in just in case. You know what? I'm gonna skip that part because I forgot how to zoom in on Chrome. Any case, so, oh, I didn't mean to press that square right there. 313. Those 313 refurbished displays generated us $54,000 of the 13 months that we were there. The investment cost of $54,000 was only $8,000 in parts and materials of refurbishing parts. That is huge. That is huge. That was like, I don't know, that's 4 times? More than 4 times? 5 times? That's huge. You know? And those of which were the 120 hertz displays, which at the time with the 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max, we only spent $6,000. But I'm sorry, am I reading that byte? $6,000. Why was $6,000? We doubled. Because what we were doing, we were buying them broken cracked glass, and we were refurbishing those. So I'll tap that into a minute. In a minute. Remember when I originally said, because sometimes, here's the thing. I'll be clear with you. I don't even know if this phone turns on. In any case, a customer comes in. Most of the times when they see a cracked glass, it's just a glass only. But other times, it's not just a glass only. They need a new display. That means what we had to do to make the price cheaper for the iPhone 13 Pro Max, we had to buy from a distributor cracked glass, good OLEDs, good displays. Let me repeat that again. For those customers that had bad displays on their phones and they were forced to repair it, because it's kind of like tires, some people, they don't care. They'll run their tires bald until they pop. And once they pop, that's then where they're like, okay, I gotta get a tire change. And you can't believe how many 80% of all of our customers, they won't change they'll deal with the cracked glass until they have no display. Until the display runs out and it's bleeding with black ink inside the display and they can't not use it, then they're like, oh, holy crap, I need to get my life is I cannot function without this. I need to get my life together. I need to get this fixed. And it forced us to source these parts and purchase them cracked glass good displays, and we would refurbish them ourselves, and then we would sell those displays that we refurbished in-house to the customer. Sorry about the commercial. Again, let me repeat that. We would sell the cracked glass, the refurbished glass that we did in-house to the customer. And the customer was happy because they were getting genuine parts and everything was working perfectly, 100% fine. And with that said, with $6,000 invested in those parts, making a little bit more than double, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's awesome. That was helping us pay the bills. It was helping us with a lot of things. Now, we did get lucky enough to refurbish glass onlys for customers that came in. For instance, with good displays. More on that later. But we got, I mean, the numbers show $8,000 to make $54,000 on all laminated displays. That's a no-brainer. Okay. Now, because we were doing that for our customers, there's probably I'm talking about the whole entire United States, there's barely a handful of stores that actually do this in-house. You wouldn't believe how many stores do not refurbish in-house. I would say it's not even 9 out of 10. It's not even. It's probably not even 5% of all stores. Probably less than that. I'm gonna dare say 2% of all stores in the whole entire United States actually refurbish in-house for their customers. 2%, which is a low percentage. There's a handful, probably 5 in the whole entire United States that I can think of in my brain. There's possibly more out there, but in my brain I can name 4 if not 5. And I know a lot of stores. And I know as hell that refurbishing for your customers isn't easy at all. That takes a special type of breed. You have to have a standardized logistical. The logistics has to fit in. Everything has to be standardized. Everything has to be done the way it has to be done. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's have fun with the numbers here now. So if we scroll down so you guys can see together what we're looking at here. Yes, I wrote down everything, you guys, everything. All the iPhone 11s, the 12s that we did, all the way up until 13 Pro Max. I written it all, man. I jot down what the percentages was, how much. Mind you, for 13 months that we were there, I wanted to show you guys this real quick. So the 13 months that we're there, and 400 and was it 455? I already 45 or something like that. Let's just say close to 500,000. What was the number that represents a refurbishing at your store really made from refurbishing the 13 months? So when you refurbish the way that we did, we were refurbishing glass onlys for Apple Watch, because the glass only on displays for Apple Watches, it was laminated. Same thing for iPads, like the Pros, they were laminated displays. So you got Apple Watch, iPads, iPhones, especially the 13 Pro Maxes, the 12 Pro Maxes, 11 Pro Max even, and all Samsung phones, like all the Samsung Galaxy phones. Those were also laminated displays. So it wasn't even limited by iPhone. iPhone was the most popular, obviously, but then our outlier was the Samsungs. So all of that refurbishing between 13 months, that only represented 11.7 close to 12% of a whole entire business. So refurbishing, in essence, only represented 12% of our business. And 12%, I believe that's a lot. That's a lot. Because if we go back up there, how much? And sorry, I scrolled. I scrolled ahead of myself. I wanted to talk to you about, but I have to scroll back for this. So 11.3. Okay, I'm sorry about that. If we go over here, I did lose my train of thought here. Yes. I don't know if you can see that cell. Can you see this cell right here? $37,000 every single month. $37,000 every single month on average, nonstop for 13 months. That's incredible. I know some stores make more than that. This is just on the repair side. This is not sales. This is not selling a phone. This is not selling a device. This is not selling an iPad, a MacBook, whatever. This is just on repairs. That's incredible. So let me get the math here. If I take away 12%, let's just be fair, right? 11.3, right? So 37,104 take away 11.3%. $32,000, 32,900. 32,900. So, you see that number right here? $4,000 a month just on refurbishing. That's 11.3%. $4,000 a month. If we had not refurbished those months, we would have never generated those extra $4,000 a month. That's huge. That's huge. Some stores on average, they sell accessories, whether a tempered glass or a case. They staple those sales with the phone. On average, from stores that I know, they'll make between $1,500 a month on those sales to $5,000. I've seen people that even hit more bigger numbers than that on accessories. So on the repair side, because we're talking about the refurbishing, numbers. On the repair side, that's huge. $4,000, that represents 11.3% of your business. $4,000 extra of your pocket. That pays your bills. That pays extra needs that your business requires. And one thing to point out, I want to click on this cell right here, just so you guys can see. Employment salary. If you can see our employment salary, we paid our employees, it was 4 employees, by the way, $114,000. That's a lot of money coming out. That means that on a monthly basis, we're paying our employees $8,800. And the franchise that we were with the rent and their fees and royalties, we paid them almost $100,000, dude. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is just so much money. The business itself netted $100,000. That's how much the business made over the course of 13 months. Did we keep any of that money? Just circulated it back into the business. We ended up buying other crap with that money. When I left my partner, I didn't leave with very much. Don't think that, oh wow, Jace, you really rocked it, man. I did, but with almost too little to no show to show. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't, when I walked out of the business away from my partnership, I didn't really walk out with very much. But it's okay. You know, I'm here, and I walked out with something even better than that, than monetary value. In any case, if you can look at this, that's another thing. When you're paying your franchise these kind of fees, these kind of royalties, that's a lot. And royalties, now that nearly 100,000, that's rent and everything, right? But royalties alone, that's $53,000 that franchise made from us that year alone. $53,000 for doing almost nothing. Yeah, they were charging us up the ass with the renting. The marketing, and they were giving us fines left and right. Like, okay, we were just so busy doing our own thing. It's hard to wear different hats in our business and be focused on other things when we're focusing on making money with our customers, right? We want to have our customers satisfied. It's just very difficult, right? And that was even with a partner and with 4 employees. It's, you're managing the employees, you're managing yourself. It is very difficult, right? And when the franchise sees that, oh, you did a mistake here, fine, pay. It's just, what do you do? And so, yeah, I think that this franchise, we didn't get in because of the franchise. It's not because that the franchise was, oh wow, it's an amazing opportunity with this franchise. No, it was an amazing opportunity for the location and that it wasn't Walmart. That's why we went in. It could have been X franchise, Z franchise, A franchise, B franchise. It doesn't matter the name of the franchise. We identified the location, the spot, and the opportunity of that space. That's why we were in there. And we knew what we were doing. So that's what got us in there. And we literally did it at any costs. So, and it speaks for yourself. The numbers speak for themselves. Let's go and take a look. Scroll down here. I wanted to show you guys something unique for that year. It does not work anymore as it used to, but it did back then. And these are the Samsungs and all that stuff. Look at that. I'm embarrassed to show you guys this. Look how many Nintendo Switches we did in 13 months. In 13 months. We did 10 Nintendo Switches. We did 10. That's so embarrassing. Repairs. Not cool, man. Not cool. Oh, I gotta pause there real quick. 10 freaking repairs. I gotta be kidding me. So anyways, we weren't really repairing game consoles. We didn't even do not one HDMI PlayStation 5. So, thank you guys for watching. I'm just looking at your messages. My God, I was so into the stream that I just, I oversaw your messages. Thank you guys. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Sherbal. Thank you, everybody that's here with me right now. I really appreciate it. Man. So, as far as everything goes, um, gosh, let me give out some shout outs for the ones that are still here watching. Hi Nick, how you guys doing? Chabal, how's everything? Okay. Tanya, what about replacing a fixing backing of an iPhone 13 Pro Max? How much should it cost? So Tanya, she's my cousin, and she's asking me for an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Well, it depends on the business, really. Some businesses will charge you a very cheap amount where they think that the price should be. Other businesses will charge you a little bit fair for their business because they think about their business, because you have to, that's the thing, right? You want to price your product right. Sometimes you undercharge the customers, and the customers don't know. Sometimes you're cheaper, sometimes you're at a fair price, and sometimes you're priced a little higher where you should be at. Now, I've seen places we charge $180 plus tax. Comes close to like $200 after tax. I've seen others do it flat $100. The 15 Pro Max back glass is about $15 to $20, and well, it takes about, some stores can do it within an hour, and it's easier. The 15 Pro Max back glass is much easier. It's just a bracket that removes it. You have to remove the charging coil behind the glass, all that stuff. It's much easier. But anyways, uh, yeah, it depends. I think I've seen stores do it for as cheap as $100. I've seen stores do it as expensive as $225, especially the 16 Pro Maxes. They'll charge high, and really you're just paying the technician their skill and their labor for that, you know. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. For that question, if you guys, so Nick does charge $269. I mean, that's great. That is amazing because he is, like I said, some businesses, they charge where they have to be at. And what do I mean by that? Jace, what do you mean by that? Well, sometimes businesses, they're gonna go cheap $100 because they're gonna give you cheap. You're gonna get what you're paid for. Other businesses, they charge high because they really wanna give the trust and a satisfaction for their customers. They want to guarantee that repair to that customer, right? And giving them good quality parts. For example, Nick here, when he does a repair, and it doesn't matter whether it's a black glass repair or another repair, he does it with such quality and care. He knows the workmanship behind it, so he's valuing the skill into that price point. And not only that, he puts the value into that customer, that trust. If that customer has some kind of like a issue, Nick has so much confidence in his repair that he's going to be like, this repair is going to be good. I'm going to give you this type of warranty. I don't know Nick's warranty, mind you, but if you typically, when you give out a 3-month warranty on the repair, that means that you're pretty confident with your repair. 3 months, 9 months, a year out warranty, doesn't matter. If you give out warranties like that, it shows confidence, and the customer, you build that rapport with your customer, that trust. Like, okay, if anything happens, I have a backup. My guy over here is going to be able to help me out. So yes, that's why that's why you have to charge the right amount for your business. Okay, that's the further end, the end of it, of the explanation. Yeah, too. You do own the market. So yes, yeah, there's parts that are so cheap, you guys. I know that you can get them for like 15-20 bucks, the iPhone. But then if you want to get the original parts, yes, those parts can be very costly, and that's the price of paying OEM. But if you want to get quality, you're gonna have to pay quality, you know. So back at this hand, I'm just so embarrassed to share this, you guys. 10 Nintendo Switches, and not one HDMI. I wasn't doing them. I didn't even do not one that year. So that's so funny that that never happened. I wish. See, that's the thing. I wish we did have more console repairs that year. It would have been huge for us. That would have been a margin of repair and profits from a different source, because you gotta have your different sources of income, right? Your different services. These phones will make you this much in repair. These tablets will make you this much in repair. These game consoles will make you this much in repair. These laptops will make you this much in repair. For us, for that year, what was our special repair that year? It was Apple Watches. Apple Watches really made us stood out that year. It was a big deal for Apple Watches, for us, by the way. Yeah. So let me show you guys the Apple Watches, because Apple Watches, if you they're not as popular as I think. Apple really honed in the design of the Apple Watches, because ever since the Apple Watch Series 7, they made it a dome version of that Apple Watch. So it made it very difficult to break. They scratch, obviously, like any other glass, but for them to crack and break, they're not as brittle as a Series 4, Series 5, and the SE models. The Apple Watches Series 7, 8, and 9 and above, the glass on those are very tough, and I haven't seen Apple Watches coming at my door as much as they used to back in the day. And I have yet to refurbish an Ultra Apple Watch. So, but back then we did nearly over 100 Apple Watches alone. 100 Apple Watches. Look at that. In 1 year. What did that make us? I'm curious. What did that make us? So that made us $11,000. 100 Apple Watches. On average, we were charging our customers 112 bucks on average. Some, that's an average. Some Apple Watches we were doing it for 90 bucks. Other Apple Watches we were doing it for 130, 140. We were literally, our cost of parts was 500 bucks. 500 bucks, because the glass was like $5. So it was like 500 bucks to make 10,000. That's huge in repair. That's huge. Throughout the whole year, we were just doing them like it was nothing. Apple Watches were huge. Apple Watches aren't as big as they used to be. So, yeah, I wanted to compare other businesses, because we thought that we were like, oh, we were the greatest, in refurbishing. We have our own, you could say, our own. Good night, Tahir. Take care. So, again, we thought we were the kings, right? And we were. We were the kings. We were the kings for refurbishing. We were the kings of doing the glass onlys for our customers in store. However, what happened was, the thing is about that, every store has their own little ingredients, right? You may be refurbishing, but we're doing this for our business. Oh, but we're doing that for our business. Every business that I find has their own unique special sauce that they're doing that's making them gross this X amount, right? So let's take a look at our competitors, because this is, you're gonna get our competition was solid, man. And I wanted to share this with you guys because I think this is some fun stuff, right? So in those 13 months, check this out, you guys. The numbers don't lie. So I'm not gonna name these two other stores. I'm just not. So these two other stores were our competitors. Okay, and I'm trying to gather my thoughts here because it's always good to have competition between your peers, right? And yes, we won at a landslide. We really did. We really won at a landslide. In any case, in repairs alone, we made $450,000 that year. The competitor that got close to us made $418,000 in repair sales, and the third made 400, just squeezed out of 400,000 in repair sales. But look at something interesting. Where we were not as good at was accessory sales. We sucked at accessory sales. We weren't charging enough, or we just not understanding that very well. Because for us at the time, we were just like doing $10 tempered glass, $10 cases. We don't care, right? That had impacted us. That's a huge impact, because if we were really serious about our accessory sales, we would have made as much as our friendly competitors. Look at our friendly competitors. Yeah, they sucked in repair sales barely at $400,000. I mean, that I can't say that, but comparing to us, but yeah, they were at the lower end. They were incredible in accessory sales, man. Look at that. You know, that's amazing. That's amazing. You know, they must have charged like $30 to $40 in tempered glass. That's great. Look at the other store. They did just hairline underneath that. You know, that's amazing. You know, had we focused in that more, we could have made more for that store, but we didn't. We made only $20,000. So, I mean, it's not bad, but you know, it shows where the indifference is. Like I said, what's your ingredient, right? Refurbishing was our ingredient. Their ingredient was sales and accessories. Okay, so it kind of balances things out, as you can see. iPhone 11s. So iPhone 11s. Let's look at the iPhone 11s. Did we make the most? Yeah, we did do the most iPhone 11s. This is a trip out number. You guys ready for this? So we did the most iPhone 11s because we were just getting them in. iPhone 11s was just so huge, right? They're huge. Our business was thriving just on iPhone 11s alone. So again, our Cape Coral store, our store number 1 and store number 2. Check this out. So we did $479. Store number 1 made $462, and store number 3 did $479. But something interesting there. $462 iPhone 11 repairs, but only made $46,000. What's going on there? There's something's not right. So store number 1 decided to charge on average $100 per repair. Store number 3, they were doing it right. Store number 2, they were doing it right. 379 repairs, yet they made $54,000. What's going on there? On average, they were charging $138 per repair. Look at that. It's amazing. And us, we were like in the middle head. We were charging close to $120, you know? We made the most, but dang, we did 100 more than store number 2. Yet store number even though they did 100 less than us, which from 479 and 379, they were pretty close to us. They were pretty close to us charging. That's amazing. That's amazing. So again, every store has their own ingredients, and that's just so interesting. Good job to that store, man. You know, good job. So again, I want to. This is the last section of where I wanted to talk about refurbishing. In any case, what you just build? What did I say right there? What the heck did I say right there? Oh no, dude. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to delete that. That was Apple Watch. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but so Apple Watches. Apple Watches were like that thing that you know, we were such in competition. You know how I was looking at it. I was looking at the numbers between me and my buddies, my competitors, and I was like, what was that one little thing that crosses over the finish line? Because as you can see, those numbers were really close. Those numbers were extremely close, and we're like, what put us to the edge of that line? What made us win that race? And like I said, different ingredients, different ways of running the business. Great. What put us over the edge? Was it refurbishing? Yeah, it helped a lot. It helped a lot. Really, what put us over the edge was the Apple Watches. $11,000 out of $500 investment. That's crazy. That barely put us over the edge. We won because of the Apple Watch. That gave us the edge that nobody else was doing at the time. The Apple Watch. Laptop repair. Anonymous store number. They did so many laptop repairs. We weren't even offering that. You know? Man, imagine had we done Apple laptop repairs, whatever, if it was Apple, HP, didn't matter. We hardly had any. And if you saw our repairs, it was mostly all iPhones, or cell phones rather, and iPads and all that stuff. But we completely missed out the boat of laptop repairs. What the heck? We could have made a killing if we had decided. We could have made a killing if we did console repairs. We could have made a killing if we did laptop repairs, but we didn't do that. So, hats off to these guys. And dude, believe it or not, the edge for the other guys is something really weird and interesting. Because I was looking at their sheets and numbers, like, dude, what was, everybody's doing the same. Because I wanted to show out what the uniqueness was, what put us out the edge, right? They were doing iPhone 13s like we were refurbishing them. They were refurbishing it too. I'm sorry, they were doing the repairs. They may have not refurbished them, but they were doing the repairs. I'm just saying, like, what was it that we were doing that they were not, and what was it that they were doing that we were not, and what was their special ingredient? And store number 2, the anonymous store number 2, their super ingredient was diagnostic charges. Diagnostic charges. So we didn't even do that. So embarrassing. Diagnostic charges. I'm just stumped. I'm like literally turning red because so this company, this business, great guys, they were they're doing a bench fee, the bench fee of diagnosing. Because when you look at a phone, a customer comes in, they're like, hey, I have an issue with my phone, can you check it out? Like, okay, that takes time, that costs time, you know, effort, knowledge, experience, right? They're charging for that. It doesn't come free, right? And a lot of repair businesses, they overlook that. They overlook that, and they're like, you know, you know, I'll check it out real quick. But then they're throwing their talent away, and their customers like, okay. I mean, we could have an argument over that, whether that's right or wrong, whatever. You know, I can see the point on both sides of the coin why you would do that. You know, and yeah, I know, must collect. Yeah, yeah, right, Nick. Uh, so yeah, that's so interesting. I you know, so yeah, that's, you have to, you know, imagine if we were doing the laptop repairs, the game console repairs, and the diagnostic fees, we would have been at a different state of, you know, of if we were making 37, we could have easily, yeah. As you saw there, we were close to $500,000. We probably might have gone close to another $50,000 on top of that. We would have made out with another extra 50,000. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, we could have literally hit a little bit over 500,000 in sales, in repair sales, if we had done those extra feats. You know, especially if we did the HDMI's for PlayStation 5s, that would have been great. Yeah, you know. So let's see what the numbers show. Trip out on that. Trip out on that. That's incredible. 54,000. Those guys were, you know, with the laptops, 28,000, 73,000, and just like diagnostics. You know, and it takes a, you know, some people they charge different bench fees. You know, they charge anywhere. I've seen people $30. I've seen people $50. Some people even charge a premium of $100. Like they want $100 bench fee. You know, because it's a lot of time, and it makes sense. You know, even $150 for a bench fee. Yeah, if it's like this big crazy, you know, gaming PC tower. Yeah, I can see that easily. You know, I know my sister does. You know, my cuñada. She'll charge that. You know, easily. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's gonna conclude our Tech Bytes for this time. If you want to stick around, go for it. But I wanted to take a look at something, you guys. I wanted to make a drawing for you guys. If you wanna stick around for that, great. I'm gonna draw for you guys, okay? Here you go. I'm not gonna be the best drawer. Here you go. There you go. Okay. And what is it that I'm gonna draw? I'm gonna draw numbers. Just gonna draw numbers. I'm gonna make a point here. Okay. Okay, let me make this bigger. Oh, too big.
AI tore up the rulebook.
Here we go.
Imagine your next rival may not even exist today. Bytes Tomorrow, they could take your customers. You need more than instinct. You need fresh,
What the heck happened here?
digital data. That is why SimilarWeb brings you web intelligence.
It's so funny.
You spot trends before they break. See how you and
Here we
competitors
go.
show up in AI. Track every
Okay,
market,
so
every player, every
I just wanted to
technology.
share this with you guys.
Adapt faster. Act smarter. To win your market.
Okay, you guys ready for this? Okay. Before I go, I'm gonna just do a drawing of numbers, and oh, let me close this out here. I'm sorry. So here are the numbers, right? We're gonna do a drawing of, we're gonna do glass onlys. Oops. My squiggly line is way too big. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, glass. I'm hoping that you guys can see this because I know it's going to be really hard to. It's even going to be hard for me. Is it going to work? I hope it is. Okay. No? Can you see the drawings? No? Oh my gosh, it's not working. Come on. Come on. I'm drawing, but it's not working. Yeah. It's not working. Oh well. I'm drawing on the pad, but it's not working. That's a bummer. Well, because it's not working, I'm gonna conclude it there. Thank you guys. If you have any other questions, let me know. But I'm gonna be doing another live, I'm hoping tomorrow around same time, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah. So you guys have a good night, and I'm gonna end that right now. How do I end?